All right, here we go. Let's see who screams more. It'll be you.
No. As long as there's no clowns.
There's going to be clowns. I'm scared. Are you scared?
No, I'm fine.
I'm scared. All right, friends, can I have your waivers? Today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my experience at the haunted house, the 17th door in Fullerton. You do have to sign a waiver to enter. And actually we ended up having to sign 2 because we did the haunt experience plus the field trip. As a condition of entry to the 17th door, all participants will be required to sign a waiver release. You may be exposed to or you may come in contact with electrical shock, insects, water inhalation, claustrophobia, touching from our staff, strobe lighting, fog, dizziness, moving floors, suffocation, physical restraints, moving vehicles, projectiles, loud noises, trigger warning for themes, rape, abuse, PTSD. So all of those things did happen, and you have to be wondering, what kind of crazy people sign up for stuff like this? Me, I'm crazy, I'm people. There are spoilers in this, so be warned that if you want to be surprised by this, I mean, at this point, you don't have much time to go if you're going. So a few things about this haunted house. One, they did a really good job on the sets and the makeup of the actors. It was very well done. It's very immersive, very physical, just from start to finish, from the way it looks on the outside to all of the set design on the inside. It was so well done. I started to get really scared as we approached the building because it's very imposing. It actually looks like some kind of prison, some kind of warehouse where you go in and never come out. And the haunt experience is about 34 minutes and the field trip experience takes about 45 minutes. The release also indicates no cameras allowed, and they do tell you that if you're caught with a camera, they will take your phone from you and they will insist on deleting any footage that you took. Okay, so I will start with the field trip experience. This part was about 45 minutes and they put you in groups and shuttle you off to an undisclosed location in a white van. So you really don't have any idea of where you're going. I'm not that familiar with the area, so I don't know exactly where we were, but it was the backside of, it seemed kind of like the backside of a shopping center. First thing I remember is that you are driven, we were driven into what looked like a shipping container, and it was very pitch black, and you could hear this container locking behind you. And then you're driven through what basically kind of looks like a strip club, but for like animals, like furries, like people who are dressed as like animals. They've got like big animal heads on, and it's a really cool vibe in there. There's music. They're kind of driving you through this whole experience there. And then there's a different section where you have to run and hide in this set. We go into this building, you have to run and hide from the drug lord. And on the way out, we had to stop and they had one of the guys get out to look for some drugs in a trash can. You know, just kind of this whole setup where we're part of some illicit drug ring, and you know, we have to be careful. And there was even one point where the van was on hydraulics and it jumped so much that I was probably about this close to hitting my head on the ceiling. The field trip part was just fun. It was entertaining, kind of took you through a fun little experience and got you running, and the sets were really good. Everything was so good as far as the sets, the actors who were portraying characters, the makeup was good. It was all really well done. It was a little bit scary, but not too much so. And after that, things kind of went downhill when we went to the penitentiary. When you go on the field trip, they do treat you as if you're in prison. So they herd you into the van, and then at the end, when you come back, they have you line up against the wall as if you're doing a strip search, and then they have you hook up where you put one hand on the shoulder of the person in front of you to like kind of herd you to the front where you wait to go into the prison. So the Perpetuum Penitentiary theme is that there is this woman who has gone to jail for murdering her child. She's in prison, and now she must atone for her sins, and this prison subjects her to all kinds of torture and abuse. There are 17 doors, 17 experiences throughout the prison, and I don't remember all of them. I'm going to be able to tell you about 10 of the different rooms. Some of the rooms were where it's just a skit. You go in and there's actors portraying a scene. So I'm pretty sure that those counted also as a door. And that skit is kind of carrying the theme of this woman who is in this prison trying to atone for her sins so that she can be released. I don't really know what order all of these rooms happened in. So I'm just doing it based on how I can remember it, which I'm pretty sure I'm not remembering it in the correct order. It's kind of a blur. Okay, so one of the first rooms that I remember is the barber room. It's this creepy room, and there's 2 barber chairs, and there is a sign that says if you sit in the chair, your hair will get cut. I think that maybe some people didn't believe them. I believed it when they asked for 2 volunteers to go sit in the chair. 2 guys did go. One of them did get his hair cut. They shaved his head, all these crazy stripes in it, like from front to back. They cut his hair for real. And then the other guy in the chair, they didn't really have time for him, so he kind of got out of it. I was not about to volunteer for that because I read the sign. No, I'm not getting my hair cut. There's a creepy shower room where one of the wardens picked up a rag off the floor, this wet, disgusting rag, and she rubbed it on my face. She rubbed it on other people's faces. It was pretty gross, and we were all kind of cramped in there, and I was looking up and I knew that we were probably gonna get wet, so I did my best to avoid the shower heads. But then the water came on, and I put my sweater over my head. See, if I had actually read the website before, did some reading, I would have been prepared to get wet, but I didn't. So anyway, I used my sweater to kind of cover my hair, and I just kind of tried to stay away from the shower head. So that was pretty creepy and kind of gross. So everything had a really realistic feel to it. It wasn't half-assed at all. I mean, you actually kind of felt that you were in this disgusting prison shower. When you go into each room, you never really know what is gonna happen or why you're there. So you just kind of do what they tell you. They herded us all over to a bench. They told us to sit down. And then this guy in a wheelchair kind of rolls his way over to us, and he's talking about how he's homeless, and he doesn't like being homeless, and there's some cans, and he's eating some food out of the cans that are like hanging in front of him, and it's just so well done. Like, you actually feel like you are in like a homeless encampment underneath a bridge. And then out of nowhere, there's a loud sound, lights, and these headlights come at us from behind, and it's a truck getting ready to hit us. And it's so real. I jumped up, and I actually grabbed the wrist of the girl next to me. I don't even know why. I just reacted. I don't know. But it was really very realistic and a really scary moment. And it was entertaining. It was like good, clean fun. Okay, one of the other rooms is a room where they herd you into your own little cubby. It's probably about this wide, metal. So you go into the cubby, and it's open in the back, and you're face front, and right in front of you there's a sign that says, "Do not turn around or you may be shot in the face." So you're standing there, you don't know what's gonna happen behind you, but you know you can't turn around because you may be shot in the face. So I'm standing there in this metal thing, kind of like a locker, and then you hear that for our crimes, we have been sentenced to execution by firing squad. And the next thing you know, there are all of these hits coming from behind. You're getting shot in the back with rubber pellets, just over and over and over. And it wasn't really bad. I mean, they kind of hurt a little bit, but not like really bad. It wasn't quite painful, but a little bit uncomfortable. And I mean, it was just boom, 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 boom. So you just stand there and you just take your hits. A few rooms later, we find out where those rubber pellets were coming from because we got a chance to execute some other people. So they let us into this room and we could see the room that we had just been in with all the lockers, and there was a row of people already standing there waiting to get shot. And after getting shot myself, I will admit that I kind of let the guy have it, the guy that I was shooting. I shot him in the butt a lot, no. But it was, you know, they just let you have at it. There's like a rifle. It's kind of like one of those carnival games where there's a rifle, and we just shot as many times as we wanted, and then we had our chance for revenge, basically. I actually really thought that was pretty clever. They herd us into this room, and it's dark, and we don't know what's gonna happen. It's a wall. There's a wall that they tell us to stand with our backs to. It's padded. So we're just kind of standing there waiting for whatever's gonna happen. And the next thing we know, the two people, the actors that are in the room with us, they are standing there with us. And the next thing we know, they've jumped to the wall behind us. And we're this way, we're vertical, and they're like defying gravity is what it seems. And they've like jumped on the wall. They're like squatting on the wall. So it was really freaky. And I think they did that as the room was tipping, and we didn't quite realize what was going on. So the room actually tips backwards, and they tell you, get up, because now all of a sudden you're on your back and you have to stand up. But it's very disorienting because you don't quite really understand what's happening. So it tips, and all of a sudden I'm going backwards, and they're like, get up. So we had to stand up, and then it did it again. And we were in there with these creepy people dressed like clowns, and then all of a sudden they just jump on the wall behind us. So that was pretty cool. I really liked that room. So now I'm gonna talk about my absolutely least favorite room, the electrocution room. It was pretty awful. Again, I didn't realize what was happening. It's dark, everything's happening really fast, but later on I watched a different video and I found out that this was called the morality room. And basically it's set up where you walk into the room and there is a circle of electric chairs. Everybody gets their own electric chair. You sit in the chair, they strap you down. It's kind of like being on a ride at an amusement park. And you're sitting there, and there's something over the speaker telling you something about morality. And I guess the idea is that you can push a button and you pick who you want to torture. Who do you want to shock? And they tell you that you have to make your choice. So I push a button, all the chairs are numbered, and this laser points to the number that I picked, and then there's a laser pointing at me. And at this point, I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't expect what happened. And then the next thing I know, I am getting this shock in my legs and in my back, and it's pretty uncomfortable. I think it really startled me, and so I didn't continue to push buttons, which later on I found out that it was shock or be shocked. You could choose to save yourself by pushing a button and shocking someone else, or you could allow yourself to be shocked and not choose to inflict pain on others. So I guess that was the idea behind the morality room. At one point, my husband said, "I'm so sorry," because he picked my number. I was 6 and he shocked me, but he didn't mean to. He was just pushing buttons. And I really didn't understand what was happening at all. All I knew is that I was just getting shocked multiple times. And it comes from the bottom of the chair to hit your legs, and it comes from the back of the chair and hits your back. And so I just kept getting shocked, and I was screaming. I screamed the whole time pretty much. And I tried to lift myself off the chair to avoid the shocks in my legs, but then I kept getting the shocks in my back, so then I would drop down, and then I kept getting shocked. Like, it was pretty awful. Mike said that it wasn't super painful, but I felt like it kind of was. It hurt me. It hurt. And I think if it had just been once, and that was it, then maybe it wouldn't have been so awful, but it was multiple times. It just kept coming, and I didn't know when it was gonna stop, and I was screaming, and I was starting to sweat and get really hot because it was just awful, and I couldn't get out. You're trapped in the chair. So I don't know how long this went on. It probably didn't go on as long as it felt, but it felt like forever. And then they let us go. And as we were walking out, one of the girls, she's like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I am not okay." I was like, that hurt. That hurt. I mean, it hurt. It hurt bad to me. And I typically have a pretty high pain tolerance, I think. I can tolerate pain. I'm a wimp about pain, but at the same time, like when it happens, like I'm able to deal with it. But I was not okay after this. And that same girl, she said that she didn't get shocked at all. So I guess I'm just super moral and I sacrificed myself, even though I didn't quite realize that's what I was doing. But that was the worst. And kind of after that, I think I just shut down a little bit. I was just like, oh my God, if they did that to us, what are they gonna do next? Like, I was just kind of like, I wanted out of there so bad. I felt traumatized. And I don't remember if this was exactly the next room after the electrocution room or not, because like I said, I don't really remember the order, but the next room I remember is a gas chamber room. So they herd you into this metal, kind of a locker size, basically the size that holds one person. And you do turn around and the door shuts. So you're completely enclosed. Then, I mean, with the firing squad, at least the back was open. I don't know. This was totally claustrophobic because you're totally enclosed. You're in this metal locker. It's dark. You don't know what's gonna happen. And something over the speaker says that it's the gas chamber room, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, oh my God, they probably will gas us with something maybe mildly toxic, but like enough to like choke me or something. Cause I just, at this point, I didn't trust them at all. I mean, I just felt scared about what might happen to me a lot more after being in the electrocution room. So we're just sitting there waiting for whatever they're gonna do, and then the chamber starts to tilt backwards and we're dropped. And it's like, and then I was really relieved because we were just dropped into like balls, basically those plastic balls, like those little playrooms. And that was it. It was painless. And then we just kind of had to scramble our way out to get up to the platform and then move on to the next room. Another room was the insect room. Now, I hate bugs, and I do remember they had an insect room in the one from 2 years ago. So this was the one thing that kind of made me have reservations about doing it, because I remember that room from last time and I hated it. And in that one, there were live roaches. Were there live roaches in this one? I don't think there were, but this room smells really weird. It's just got this awful smell, and it's this cramped, it's like more like a hallway, and there's a shelf behind you just full of like dead insects and bugs. And there's this person walking around with trays of bugs, and she's trying to put bugs in people's pockets. And basically I was just like, I cannot. I just kind of took my sweater and like covered my face, and I just hid behind my husband. Anytime one of the actors came near me, I couldn't. Like, I did not want to be touched by a bug. I hate bugs. Like, I was just like, I cannot deal with this. So that was pretty awful because I didn't know how far she was gonna push it and if she would throw a bug on me or something like that, because I would have flipped the F out. Like, yeah, it was pretty awful for me just because I hate bugs so much. Okay, there was another room where they herded us into lockers, our own individual lockers again, shut the door. Honestly, I don't remember too much from this room, except I was just so on edge that I just kind of went in there and I just covered my face. I was just like this because I didn't want to see anything. I was just kind of outdone at this point. And so I just kind of went in there and I was just like, whoo! And to my right, there was this, I guess it was just kind of to scare us and, you know, the whole claustrophobic thing. And then there was this kind of an opening in the wall on my right. And I don't know if everyone had this because if you were in the middle locker, it would have just been someone else next to you. So, but this face, this witch face, showed up like right next to my face, but like outside of the locker. And I just screamed and I was just like, ah! So anyway, that's the locker room. That's all I really remember from that room. 17th and last door is probably the worst one, but I called Mercy. Most of the rooms, you can call Mercy and say that you don't want to do it or participate, but they never really announced it. But with this room, they did announce it, and they said if anyone wants to opt out, now is the time. They said if you have any issues with your spine and your knees that you don't want to do it. And ahead of me, all I could see was a metal tube, a square tube, a metal chute that I assumed we were gonna have to crawl into. And I just wanted no part of it. I was tired of being locked in a cage. On our way in, someone said they tried to drown you. They tried to drown you. And so because I knew that hadn't happened yet, I had a feeling this was it. So I am so glad I didn't do it. I opted out, I left, but my husband did do it, and I watched him crawl right in there, and I was out. I was like, I'm done. Basically, they have you lying on your stomach in this metal chute. They shut it behind you, and they tell you that there's a code to get out, right? From the top, like kind of an airbag type of thing comes out to like press you further down, and then the water starts to rise. So there you are on your stomach. You've got an airbag from the top pressing your face down. You've got water rising in this little metal cage, and there's a code that you have to enter in order to get out and make it stop. And then while we were outside waiting for them to finish, the warden made us do jumping jacks. And that was fun. So my husband had his phone in his back pocket, which is good because his whole front side was soaked. Like, he was soaked. That was the very last room. That was the 17th door. And then our ordeal was over. I'm legit traumatized. I got electrocuted, shot, there was pain. I'll never do that again. I had to keep telling myself that I signed a waiver, so I can't be mad at them, but it was pretty intense. Yep, he's wet. I opted out of that part. I opted out because after getting electrocuted, I didn't also want to be drowned. Looking back on the whole thing, especially that night, no. I would never do it again. And honestly, I think minus the electrocution room, I probably would have been okay, but that was just a lot for me. That was just kind of tipped me over the edge to the point where I was like, I'm done. I will never do that again. I do enjoy haunted houses and I like being scared. I mean, that's why we went. So on the one hand, I kind of wish I'd read the disclaimers and hadn't done it. But on the other hand, I'm kind of glad I did it because it was an experience. And, you know, we always want more. Like, we'll do a haunted house and we'll be like, oh, that wasn't that scary. And so this was more. And so we did it, and I'm kind of glad I did it. But at the same time, it was pretty rough. So I have mixed feelings about it in the end. I mean, they did a good job. You got to give them that. Whether it's your cup of tea or not is another story. But they did a really good job. And it's honestly the most intense haunted house that I've ever been to, and probably the most intense one that I ever want to experience. I think that's my limit.